everybody, and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Dr. Carmen Bryant, and this is Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. So thank you to all the new subscribers to my channel. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being here, finding something relevant that I have to say concerning your journey either out of a relationship with a narcissist or trying to discover how to escape a relationship with a narcissist. And so today I wanted to answer a question that I came across. And hopefully I say it right. I didn't pull it up on my computer to go back and look at the question again. I saw the question last night, and I don't know how long the question has been up there. But the question is how do I help family members or a friend, family member or friend who are involved or in a relationship with a narcissist? Well, number one, let's keep in mind that if you look at your own situation, our situations, it didn't matter how much someone told you about it. You didn't leave the situation until you were ready to leave the situation. When you have had enough and you ended up leaving. So it didn't matter, if you have someone that is constantly riding you, right? You think about it, you're going to be doing the same thing that a narcissist does. And so sometimes people have this habit of providing people with unsolicited advice. And so just because you may see it, they may not see it. Sometimes, remember the video I did on cognitive dissonance? A lot of times they see something, but they're struggling with, how they feel versus the truth that they see versus how they feel, and so a lot of times they're not ready to leave. And then if you're telling them, you're interjecting your opinion, when a person interjects, that's just like, I just wanted to tell you this. Well, I didn't ask for your advice. I just felt like I think you needed to know. I think you needed to know. I needed to tell you, but I didn't solicit you for advice. I didn't ask you for your advice. I didn't, so you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're providing people with unsolicited advice, or you're interjecting yourself into their situation if they have not invited you into their situation. A lot of times you have to use wisdom. When a person, you have to use wisdom to know when to plant the seeds, when to interject certain things or so that you don't lose them. Because you have to remember that the narcissist, it could be their primary source of supply. And so if they feel jeopardized, or if they feel that you are what's the word I'm looking for? You are a threat in pulling away their source of supply, they will come after you too. And then remember, they work very hard at isolating people because the information that they provide is the truth. And so if you interject any reality or truth to their situation, that narcissist, there's a possibility that, and they're excellent manipulators. Remember that. And so then you become the messy one, or you become the one that's trying to jeopardize the relationship, or you're the one that you can't make any of your relationship work. So you're trying to break up my relationship. And so a lot of times what ends up happening is you end up becoming the enemy to family and friends, and that narcissist has convinced that their source of supply, their main source of supply, to not allow you into their personal business. Our marriage is our marriage. Our relationship is our relationship. And you need to stop allowing people into your relationship. But you have to remember that there may come a time where there's an open door where they may ask you questions, but don't go overboard with it, because you don't want to be so, why won't you leave? And that's toxic, and they're abusing you, and that's called abuse. And because remember that the narcissist is doing the same thing at home, in their private, you don't want to come off as being overwhelming them. You don't want to come off as, you have to make a quick decision because that's all that they're accustomed to. You have to, excuse me, you guys, my nose is itching. But you have to approach them with wisdom. There may come a time where there's a door that opens, and when there's a door that opens, what you want to do is interject other resources except for your opinion. And what you do is, hey, that sounds, I'm sorry that you're going through that. Have you ever heard of narcissistic personality disorder or narcissist abuse? They may even tell you, yeah, I started thinking about it because I heard someone talk about it before and I was curious. And then all you say is, well, go check out Dr. Carmen's videos. Go check out Quinn Holiday's videos. Go check out Dr. Les Carter's videos. Go check out Dr. Romani's videos. Go check out Little Shaman or Angie Atkinson. Somebody speaks their language. It may not be me, but somebody is speaking their language and saying what they need to hear at that particular time. Something that somebody says may resonate with them, but you stay, you provide them, feed them those seeds, feed them that, and then back up, leave it alone. Let them come to their own conclusion, just like you had to come up with your own conclusion. You have to remember they're living under a lot of pressure as it is. Now, what about the fact that a lot of times we come out of these toxic relationships? I'm sorry, you guys. Hold on. Let me go itch my nose. Sorry, you guys. It was itching. So But what if you're triggered by what you see, and so you make it into more than what it really is? What if, it's not as bad? Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, you guys. It's getting cold outside. So, okay, I'm sorry, you guys. My nose is just itching. So old folks say somebody talking about me. That'll be good. But so what if, you're triggered? What if they are in a toxic relationship, but they, as many of you guys know, and some of you guys were in the relationship 15, 20, 25, 30, 40 years. 40 years. One lady said 40 years. I think it was 40 years. She was in a relationship with a narcissist and finally got free. Year free, or maybe a little more than that. Look how long it took, for her eyes to open, to say, oh my gosh, this is how I was living. And I always knew something wasn't right. But a lot of times people were private too, and they're wanting their marriage to work. They wanting the relationships to work. So they're not going to tell you all their business. But don't think that they haven't noticed something that is awkward, or, they're not going to tell you. But don't always assume that people don't realize something is not right. That sometimes they're not ready to face the fact that something is wrong with their partner. Something doesn't feel right. But what if you're the one that's being triggered? Now, as I said any other time, everybody does not have narcissistic personality disorder. Some people are immature. Some people are very selfish. Some people, and most people do have narcissistic traits. And so a lot of times when you have been abused so severely, you become very triggered when you notice certain behaviors in a lot of people. Even in the helpers, you may notice some behavior that's similar to what the narcissist did or the abuser did to you. And so what if you're triggered at what you see in the relationship, but what if it's not really what it is? Maybe you're triggered by someone's behavior in a relationship with your brother or your sister or your nieces and nephews, grandkids or whatever. But what if it's not really what it is? Now, I'm not saying it's not, but what if it's not really what it is and you are still triggered? You're so triggered that, you want to save them because you're trying to save yourself, or you're trying to save them and you end up making something out of something that is not. Maybe that individual in the relationship doesn't see it the same way you see it. Maybe they're not affected like you think that they're affected. You're looking at the situation from your eyes, from your perception, or from your experiences. And a lot of people are very hypervigilant. So everything, remember I told you the fish narcissist, the cat narcissist, I had a sweet, precious individual on a live feed ask, is it possible that a cat or animals can be narcissistic? I can't answer that question. I'm not a therapist for animals. I'm not an animal whisperer, and I don't mean to be facetious when I say that, or it make you sound bad. I don't know. I know my cat seems to be a narcissist sometimes, but I know cats don't have personality. Well, they do have personalities. But there's nothing that he's doing purposely to antagonize me or to harass me or abuse me, so I don't have to put him out. And then if someone else said, that cats were narcissists and dogs were empaths, and if you look at it, it kind of fits their little personalities too. So I don't know, but think about it. When you have been so traumatized, everything tends to trigger us. A lot of things that we see beyond where another person sees. So you're trying to rescue someone before they have an opportunity to even speak up for themselves. Sometimes people have to go through what they have to go through until they have an aha moment. And like I said, if a person comes to you, let them come to you. You don't go trying to rescue everybody, because you'll become the nuisance. You'll become the person that people start looking at like she is a trouble, he is a troublemaker. You are doing entirely too much. Just because you have that experience doesn't mean that I'm experiencing that. They could be going through what you're going through, and they may not be. But the thing is that you leave it up to, hey there, how are you? Thank you so much, sir. But you leave it up to that individual to come to you to ask you for advice, and not that was my mailman, I'm sorry you guys, but you leave it up to that individual to open up the door to invite you into their personal life to ask you questions. Then the way that you do it is you provide them with some information, but don't go overboard, because you can push people away. And the more desperate you are to save them, and the more desperate you are to get them out of their situation, sometimes you turn them off. And they try to get away from you. They try to push away from you. They don't want to deal with you because you're so desperate. You're anxious to help. So don't be anxious. People, a lot of people are not ready to be rescued. A lot of people are not ready to get out of their situations. So you can't superimpose it. When they're ready to make a move, you'll know, because there's certain things that they're going to ask. You provide them with the resources. Hey, go check out these videos, and you make up your own mind. Even as a young therapist, and I was talking to someone about this, as a young therapist, I was so, when we do our intern and we're learning how to do therapy and how's it work, it's good to have a good mentor, a good supervisor, because I was so desperate at helping people. I did more work than they did, and they let me do it too. And then when I stopped, they looked at me like, you don't even care anymore, because I was doing all the work. If I'm doing all the work, how is it benefiting that individual? You're not giving them an opportunity I had to learn. I'm going to give you the information. You go research it. So and I think I made this example before on another video. You have a person come in and complaining about they need to lose weight. You give them resources. You give them certain tools that they can work with. And then they come in and say, it's not working. It's not working. Well, what did you try? I didn't try any of this, but your therapy is not working. And so everything that you're telling me is not working. I'm not losing weight. Well, are you, watching what I can't, if I eat the way that I'm telling you to eat, I'm going to lose weight. So if you're not applying that to yourself, it's not the therapist, it's the fact that you're not using the tools. If you stink and I give you soap, a washcloth, water, and a towel, and I tell you, okay, you may not have energy to do it, at least do it once or twice a week so that you don't smell the way that you smell, and you come back and say, I just couldn't do it. Okay, let's just do it once a week then, try to help eliminate some of the odor. And you come in and say, my therapy is not working for you. That means you're not applying yourself. And young therapists have to learn that as well. But when you're dealing with a person that's in a toxic relationship, the work is on them. You provide them with the resources. You provide them with the ear to listen. Don't superimpose all your opinions, because what worked for you may not work for them. They're not the person that you are. They're not, their experiences, their life experience, their thought process, is not like their strengths are not your strengths, and your strengths are not their strengths, so everyone is different. I provide tools, but that doesn't mean that you're me. So I can't tell you you can ask me and I can tell you, you may try it, but it may not work for you, but at the same time, you have to remember that, you're not them and they're not you. And until a person has made up in their mind to leave or to change, when enough is enough. And for some people, like the lady said on YouTube, 40 years. It took her 40 years to wake up, 20, 30 years to wake up. And this information wasn't out there. And when the information started coming, it made them realize, like, I never realized I was in a relationship. I never realized this was a toxic relationship. I thought the individual loved me. I didn't know I was going through this. Don't think that they don't see information. Don't think that the buzzword doesn't, I wonder what narcissist abuse is, or, some people. So don't think that they're not hearing it somewhere. For some people, they don't even know that they're in a relationship, and all of a sudden a video pops up and they're listening like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. But then another thing you have to remember, that in the cycle of power and control and domestic violence, a lot of domestic violence advocates will tell you that the most dangerous time for a person to get out of a relationship is when they're trying to get away. So a lot of murders and death happen when they're trying to get away from the abuser, because nobody can have you but me. You are my property. You belong to me. And if I can't have you, no one can have you or my children, because you guys belong to me. So the most dangerous time for a lot of people is when they're trying to leave, and that's men included. They're trying to leave a domestic violent relationship. That's why now a lot of shelters, domestic violence shelters, have upgraded their security systems and making sure that people don't have access into the buildings, because these people are looking for they kill them on the street, they burn them. You read the stories where they've had gasoline splashed in their face, children kidnapped and murdered, so the most dangerous time is when they're trying to leave. And so in the goodness, sometimes in the goodness of your heart, trying to save a family member or a friend, you could be jeopardizing their life. You could be hurting them more than you're helping them, because at night when you go to sleep, they're still having to go back home to this person that notices a change. You've been around your sister, or you've been around your brother, haven't you? Or who you've been talking to because your language has changed, or who you've been talking to because you're starting to get a little disrespectful. You're starting to get a little bold. You're starting to get, I'm starting to notice that your little attitude has changed. They notice everything. Your attitude is changing. What you been doing? Who you talking to? So sometimes in the midst of you trying to help, you're going to end up hurting them more than you're helping them. And so when they finally come to you and say something, you have to be wise enough to even tell them, erase your history on your computer, erase your history on your phone. If you're watching the videos, erase the history on YouTube. Don't change your attitude. Keep doing the same thing that you have been doing. Don't change what you're doing to let them in. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. So for some of you trying to say your family members, you're going to end up hurting them more than you're helping them. And then obviously you know that these narcissists are great manipulators. And so they can convince you, they can convince that, they're captive, that you are messy, that you are trifling, or whatever word that they use, and they isolate them. So they end up being isolated from their own families. You don't hear from your sister and brother, cousins, aunties, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, because they have been isolated by the abusers. And some people don't have the resources or the resources or the finances to find anywhere else to go. So they're completely now isolated and cut off from their family. Period. So you have no idea what they're going through and how they're suffering privately. So the advice that I can give is you have to use wisdom. Hopefully this information will give you some wisdom on how to approach the situation. Be very mindful and be very careful. Take the opportunity, instead of approaching your family member, go speak to a domestic violence advocate, go speak to a legal advocate, talk to them at what you assume so they can give you some advice on what not to do, and what to do. And if they say something to you, what to say and what not to say. Never make them feel bad by saying, why won't you just leave? Because some of them are addicted to the abuser. Remember, the narcissist is a drug. And so some of them are addicted. It's not a matter of why won't you leave. Some of them don't have the means to leave. Some of them emotionally are trauma bonded or have Stockholm syndrome, where they'll defend the abuser, and you're appalled. Like, I don't understand why you're defending. You have to understand that they don't think the same way you do. And a victim or a survivor doesn't think the same way. Their thoughts have been altered for the rest of their lives. They think totally different than the average person thinks. A lot of you who have been through this situation do not think like the average person has never experienced abuse by a narcissist. And so a lot of people blow it off like you're making a big thing. There's no such thing as narcissism. And I think who was it? Someone either emailed me. I think someone mentioned it either here on YouTube or emailed me and said something about the therapist said there is no such thing as a diagnosis narcissistic personality disorder. Y'all need to report that individual to the board, because in the DSM, in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Health Disorders, 5th edition, DSM-5. This is the American Psychiatric Association. Let me give you guys, you go to the table of contents and you go to, let me help you guys out. So whoever made that comment, I don't know what kind of therapist you went to that said that this doesn't exist. Let me find it for you guys. Hold on, let me find it. So you guys know that this actually exists. Where is it at? Give me a moment. Man, I haven't opened this up for a minute. Let me look. Personality disorders. Show you guys. Personality disorders, page 645. So for those of you that were told that narcissistic personality disorder does not exist, I can't believe that a therapist would actually say something like that. That's almost horrifying. That's kind of discrediting you, really making you look crazy. If someone told you that, that's horrible. Okay, so let's go look. Okay, so let's go look. Okay, so let's find it. I'm gonna tell you what page it's on. Okay, Cluster B personality disorders. So you have page 659. Cluster B personality disorder. First one says antisocial personality disorder, which formerly was psychopath, sociopath. And then on page 663, borderline personality disorder. Cluster B personality disorder. Remember, dramatic personalities. 667, it says histrionic personality disorder. These are ones that I talked about on camera before. 669, narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissistic personality disorder. And this is the official manual used by psychologists, mental health providers across the nation to provide diagnosis. So whoever the therapist was that told you that narcissistic personality disorder does not exist, that's a lie. You see in the DSM, it has it written in there. The way that the DSM is written for mental health professional and health professionals in order to make sure they're able to diagnose. They're giving you the symptoms so that when you make the diagnosis, you're making a good diagnosis, but it does test and measurements. You know, there is more to it, you know, but to recognize what the 9 symptoms are that qualify an individual for that particular, the criteria that qualifies a disorder to be narcissistic personality disorder. So we look at it and you have, you know, grandiosity, but most of the time you don't know what it looks like. And the one example I can give you is in the military. When you go into the military, we have what's called it's a small little book. It's the Common Manual of Basic Task. I can't recall the name of it, but it's Common Task Manual. Common Task Manual, but it talks about simple things like the ABCs of first aid, the fireman carry, the whatever carry, it, you know, how to set up a Claymore mine. I'm good at setting up a Claymore mine. I can blow up some stuff, but I know how to set up a Claymore mine, and it gives you step-by-step instructions on how to set up a Claymore mine. Some people are auditory at learning. So when they hear it, they can picture it in their head and they know how to do it. So hearing it. Number 2, there are some people that have to see it. So when you show it to me, you can talk me through it, but when you show it to me step by step, I will understand. Then some people they have to do it. They have to do it. So talk me through it, let me see it, and let me do it myself in order for it to register to know how to do it. So as a senior trainer, I was a trainer of trainers in the military, but I started off as a private, and we had to learn, you read it. So they'll read it to you, so you have to read it. Then they'll read it and they do step-by-step instructions. We would do step-by-step instructions, and then we read it. We do the step-by-step instructions and allow the soldiers to put their hands on. So we read it, then they do the step-by-step instruction. They listen and they do it themselves. And then once they get practice, then we have them tell us what it is that they're doing. So the Army implements all those different versions in order for a person to learn. Well, in the DSM, you have the criteria to outline what narcissistic personality disorder looks like. So you have the criteria to identify what the disorder looks like. But the thing that it doesn't explain is how these people react and act with loved ones and people close to them. What does grandiosity look like played out? What does what does this entitlement look like? You know, it talks about it. They feel like they're entitled. They know more than everybody. They harass people. They do this. They lie. They do this. But what does it actually look like? So when you get on camera like this, or people, the coaches that are talking about it, they're giving you a different side of the same story. They give me of the same coin, a different side of the same coin, but they're showing you what it looks like from the perspective of survivors, not just a clinician that's trying to learn how to treat the disorder or how to manage the disorder or how to protect them and other people from the disorder. You have people like myself and many other coaches and professionals that are teaching survivors and other people what the disorder looks like played out from a survivor's perspective or a victim's perspective. That is a part of the domestic violence, the power and control wheel. And what does it look like? So hopefully this has helped. So whoever told that individual that it doesn't exist, you now have information. You can go look it up, go in the library, go get a DSM and look it up yourself. I think it was page 665. That's what it was. And then go look through there, and each one of the cluster B personalities were written out. Then you got the cluster C that was in there, but you have the diagnosis, and it's in the manual. It is in the manual written. I think that one is the update as of 2013 DSM-5. So hopefully this has helped you guys. Hopefully this is giving you some information on what not to do and what to do when you're dealing with family members that may be in a toxic relationship. I do have good and bad news. So as you guys know, I was going to join Miss Tiara Carpenter in Greensboro, North Carolina, scheduled for November 16th. It has to be postponed because there was scheduling conflicts with the facility that she was going to use. And so she's going to have to postpone it and reschedule it for, I think, January. She's coming up with another date because they scheduled something right on top of the dates and times that she had scheduled for me to be there with her. And so hopefully this is giving you guys, hopefully that will give you guys some more time to see if you guys would like to come out. And she's adding some additional stuff, meet and greet, either a dinner or lunch where, we can all meet. You guys get to come and have lunch or dinner with me and ask questions, meet me in person. And that, for a small additional fee, we'll go to a restaurant, or somewhere where we can it'll be a private, this is a private VIP where all of us can be together and meet face to face. She's also considering doing a webinar. So those of you that are unable to travel to the location, do live webinars where you are there with us at that particular time, to include, I think, when we go out to dinner, if you would like to do the live webinar, you can pay for that as well to be there for the dinner. So you could be there with me. And there's more information coming, but there's more opportunities for those that cannot travel. And hopefully that'll give you guys enough to make arrangements to come and travel to North Carolina. But I will keep you guys updated. I will update the community tab to let you guys know that particular date has been postponed due to scheduling conflict of the facility that was they double booked. And so that it conflicted with the times that we were supposed to be there. So my sincerest apologies. She sends her sincerest apologies, and she's rescheduling now. So hopefully that'll give you guys some time to come and meet me, come up there, Also, those of you that have not subscribed already, please subscribe. Dr. Carmen Bryant, Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. Hit the bell so you can see whenever the notifications come up. And, the notifications come up. Whenever I post videos and whenever I come live, I usually come on live on Sundays between 8 and 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which is the West Coast time in the U.S. Also, if you have not already, my books are available through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is Unmasking, the Illusion of Perfection. I happened to look through it and started reading, and I noticed there were a lot of, because I did have an editor through the company, an editor go and edit the book, but I found, and maybe that was my fault, I didn't double check, there were some typos, there was some grammar and some mistakes in editing. So I apologize because that is not a reflection of my professionalism. Hopefully you guys accept my apology, but there were some editing mistakes in here, but hopefully you get the content, you understand, get the principle of what's being said in the book. So it is Unmasking the Illusion of Perfection. You can find it on Barnes & Noble. You can find it on Amazon and Westbow Press, which for those that are out of country said it was easier to order through them. You find that in the link below the video on YouTube. Those of you that are looking for therapists, some of you need therapy. Not coaching, you need therapy. Coaching is coaching. It's like a basketball coach or a football coach to help you get the resources and to coach you into what you're trying to do. Some of you need therapy. Some of you have post-traumatic stress, complex post-traumatic stress. Some of you don't have the ability, you're not mobile, or you can't find the therapist that you need in the area that you're in. Some of you are in the rural areas of suburbs where you can't really get out. You can't find what you're looking for. And a lot of you like to do it in the comfort of your office, the comfort of your car, comfort of your home, where they provide you with online counseling, Skype, FaceTime, telephone, and it is at a very nominal fee, less than coaching. And I think they give you the first week free. You also can vet your counselors. Don't look for a narcissist specialist. Look for someone that's a trauma professional, someone that understands post-traumatic stress, someone that understands psychological abuse, parental alienation. Find someone that understands that. Eventually, you can kind of interject and ask them if you understand narcissist abuse or the effects of narcissist abuse, but focus on the trauma part. And a lot of you have given good reviews and say you really found the right person for you so that you can start counseling. If you have financial difficulties, you can let them know. I think they give you you a discounted price. Miss Eileen from Canada said that they give you discounted prices as well if you're having financial difficulties, if you let them know. So please go check out. There's a link below my YouTube channel. It is betterhelp.com/Dr. Carmen. So they know that I'm the one that referred you. And get yourself connected with a counselor. You are your greatest investment. You are your greatest investment. And the only way that you can change and heal is when you invest in yourself. You can make the outside look good, but if the inside is jacked up, eventually it's going to leak out to the outside. If you got halitosis, that's a stomach issue. That is not an outside issue. And you got to get that fixed on the inside. So hopefully that will help you. Please also go to my mentor's YouTube channel. It is Helen Sadler, Destiny Helper. Subscribe to her channel. Share these videos. And for those of you that are family members, you never know if someone is on your timeline or someone is on your Facebook page. If you're sharing the videos, they may, oh, I wonder what that's about, and click on it. So you never know. See, you never know who is watching, and sometimes they won't tell you that they're watching. You know, sometimes they will not tell you that they're watching. It's safer for them not to tell you that they're watching. But when you start sharing the videos of what you find interesting and may pertain to their situation, they may click on it just out of curiosity, and it may be speaking to their situation at that particular time. You don't know who around you is going through this type of trauma. So hopefully this has helped you. I do have 2 Facebook pages. One is my professional Facebook page. It is not Overcoming, it's Psychological Health Consultants and Services, and that is my professional site. A lot of times I don't post other speaking engagements on there when I do certain speaking engagements, but if you go to Overcoming Narcissist Abuse, I put other speaking engagements that I do that may be out of the clinical and kind of clinical and out of the clinical perspective, but you'll see the other speaking engagements on Overcoming Narcissist Abuse. So make sure you hit and like both buttons. I am on Twitter. You're welcome to join me on Twitter, Dr. Carmen Bryant 1. And join me on Twitter. I am on Instagram. I don't go live or anything, and I do snippets on Instagram. And I think I'm on LinkedIn. Where else am I? I'm trying to be hip, y'all. You know, the millennials are trying to keep me hip. So thank you guys so much for your support. You guys are the greatest tribe ever, and you guys have a great week, and go be great.